Do you want to get hired as a programmer? How to pass a test only 1 in 200 gets right? Yeah, I'm talking about the famous FIZZ BUZZ test. How to pass it, and is it still relevant today? Hi and welcome. My name is Robin Pokorny and I like to write JavaScript. I also like to read JavaScript and I like to talk about JavaScript. And that's what I'm going to do today. The topic is the FIZZ BUZZ test. The most famous interview question for coding interviews, maybe the most feared one, and probably most certainly the most overused one. But before I will show you the solution that will land you a job, let me go to the history first. So the history of FIZZ BUZZ test comes in 2007 when this Imran Gori wrote a blog post about how he uses FIZZ BUZZ to filter his candidates. And there he says that only a small handful of all applicants is actually able to do this test, to pass it. And this includes people with a computer science degree or even people who declare themselves as seniors. It was later made popular by Jeff Atwood. He wrote an article, "Why Can't Programmers Program?" And that's why I learned about that. And that's where they also write this thing that only 1 in 200 applicants is actually able to pass this test. What is the FIZZ BUZZ? Let's talk about the problem, how it's usually stated. You come to an interview, you stand in front of the whiteboard and the interviewer asks you to write the FIZZ BUZZ test. It says, write a program that prints numbers from 1 to 100, but instead of every multiply of 3, write fizz, and instead of every multiply of 5, write buzz. And instead of multiplies of both, write FIZZ BUZZ. It's very simple, right? How can anyone fail in that? That's what many people think. This is very easy to communicate. It's very easy to understand. It was originally meant for kids who learn about division and they play this game and they sit around and they have to, like, one by one say a number and do the same thing. It turns out that it's not that easy, and people actually do fail in that. And there are many theories why that happens. Even for very experienced programmers. I mean, programmers, like some people even don't consider them programmers if you can't write such a simple programming task. Why is that? I believe that we have to split this task to actually 3 subtasks. The first one is the iteration. The second one is logic for 1 digit, for 1 number. And the third one is printing. And you can fail in any of those 3 or even multiple of those. And that's why I believe most people can't pass it. The first one is iteration. You have to iterate from numbers from 1 to 100. And that can be difficult. So first, very common error, people start by 0 and they end with 99 or like off 1 error. That's the most common, one of the most common programming errors ever. And you probably experienced it yourself. So it's sometimes difficult to make sure that the iteration boundaries are correct. Second thing, it's usually done on a whiteboard. And that makes it very difficult. Like, are you really sure you can write a correct syntax in JavaScript in this sense of a for cycle or I don't know, whatever iteration you would use? Are you sure you can write it on the spot correctly? That's another thing. You have to know the syntax. And then if you decide to use something else than an iteration loop, like an array, like I like arrays, you have to make sure that the array is dense, right, when you create it, so you can iterate over it, and it's not scarce as if you write array 100. And again, that would start with 0. So it's not as trivial as it might sound now, and again, without the help of your editor, it can be much more difficult. The second part is logic for 1 number. So usually you do it that you receive 1 number from the iteration and you have to somehow turn it into the string or that number. And that's the part most people focus on, and that's also most solutions focus on as well, because it's the easiest to reason about, and it also has the word, like it's the logic, like this is the logic of the task. Why people fail in this? They usually underestimate it. What I mean by that, this solution sounds so easy, like, I mean, really easy, and you think, oh yeah, I can do this, it's very easy. But it's not. I mean, there are some hidden things. It's not as easy as you might think. You do have to do some work, and if you strive for some elegant code, and if you believe there is this simple solution, there is none. I will tell you, there is no super elegant, simple solution that everybody would get. It's a little bit tricky. 3. Printing. Yeah, so you probably ask yourself, how can anybody screw up printing? Probably to the console in JavaScript, or like to a file, whatever is that. That's very difficult. I admit it's very difficult to screw up printing, but it's very easy to forget about that. Right, and I mean, I know what you mean, but again, the task is to print characters, to print numbers from 1 to 100 and replace the ones. So if you don't print, technically haven't fulfilled the task, you don't have a solution. So please don't forget about that. Right, now we finally got to the solution part, and I promise you I will tell you about a solution that will land you a job. First, I will tell you about an easy solution. A solution I call the boring solution. Just so you know, what you kind of have to do is that you probably write a for loop. You really make sure that the variable, let's name it I, goes from 1, and the last iteration will happen when I is 100. Then in the iteration, you do if-else statements, multiple statements. So you start with if I is divisible by 3 and by 5, console log FIZZ BUZZ. Else if it's divisible by 3, print FIZZ. Else if divisible by 5, print BUZZ. Else print the number. This is a solution. It's a fair solution. It does its job. As you see, it's not very elegant, it's not very nice, but it works. I call it the boring solution. Why boring? Right. As I said, FIZZ BUZZ is probably the most overused programming task ever. And interviewers ask this so often that it now became kind of like a necessity to know. It shows that, I mean, it's a communication between you and the interviewer. It shows that you've done your homework, that you prepared. And I mean, if I give you a FIZZ BUZZ, I expect you to write a solution now. I mean, of course, I would expect that 10 years ago, but now it's so known and so used that passing it with the boring solution is the new not passing it. What you need is you need to get creative. You need to show that you kind of know the language, that you enjoy programming. That's what I always look in an applicant. You need to think about some unusual ways how to solve it, or maybe like at least talk about the solution. If you come to the board and just write the boring solution on top of your head, that's probably not good. I mean, that's not good for me. I wouldn't really like that. What I want is something special, something that shows how you program, right? So before this, I gave myself 5 minutes to come up with ways how I would approach it, or like what are some possible ways how to approach it without using the boring solution. For example, I really like functional programming, and that's how I would approach that. I would write an array. I would create a dense array with 100 elements. I would iterate through them using map, and then I would probably use for each to print them out. Again, that would work, and it shows how I approach the problems in real life. Maybe you really like objective-oriented programming. Then you would probably create some class and have it like iterate through these numbers, whatever works for you. But you show that you like this. Maybe you would like to show off that you know some new features of the language and you know how to use them. In this case, generators is probably a good thing to use because you actually like generate numbers. So you go and ask for the next one, and it gives you either the number or the string. And I tried that like a few minutes ago. I tried this solution, which is kind of funny, you know, like it a little bit breaks the usual pattern. And that is, I created an array with 15 elements, and it's either like empty, or it has the string fizz, or the string buzz, or the string FIZZ BUZZ, because I mean, it repeats after those 15. And what I kind of do is that I take this, I repeat it the necessary number of times, 7 for 100 elements, and then I crop it to 100, and I replace the empty places with the indexes. And that works. Oh, sorry. And then I have to print those elements. But again, it is something different. And I mean, I'm not saying that I would use this. I'm just saying it shows that you think about that. And that's what, I know I repeat myself, but you have to show your personality. That's what the interviewer is looking for. They're not looking for a solution. And again, if I would forget about printing that, that's probably okay. I mean, it's a process. It's not about like having a working solution or not. I mean, you can look at it this way, but I believe it's more about demonstrating the skills, how you approach the problem, how you like identify the actual difficulties and how you overcome them, what the things you know, how you use that. All of that comes together and that shows a picture of you, because it's you who are doing the interview. It's not about some standardized solution. Please never use the boring solution anywhere. I have a task for you, and the task is, as you guessed, is the FIZZ BUZZ in JavaScript. Please think of some creative way how to solve this, or maybe write something I mentioned. Maybe use, another thing out of my head, use middleware for that. I love that solution. Maybe, yeah, that sounds very cool. Use middleware, or use whatever you want. Like use something that is personally for you, something you know. Maybe use a library that you really like. Whatever is that, please use that. Write it into the comments below, or post it on a guest and post the link here. I will go through that. Please also look at other people's solutions and try to learn something from that, because I mean, even this solution is very simple. You can learn something from that. I appreciate any comment about this video. If you find this video useful, please hit the like button. And if you would like to hear more, please subscribe. I'm Robin, and I like to talk about JavaScript. See you next time.